do you guys feel bad for Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas that they tore their ACL? And it's a serious question. Like, I think most fans do. Like, most fans feel like these players are part of their family, and when they go down, I think it affects their day or their week. Does it affect you guys like that, or are you guys totally jaded journalists like me?
Jaded journalist. I'm not going to say it affects me as your understudy. I'm not going to say it affects me, but I'm going to say that it does kind of bum me out in terms of, man, I feel bad for these players. Maybe it's just because from a human aspect and because it's like I was a former athlete at some point. Just like it sucks because you're so early in your career. You were primed for this bit. But I just feel that for every player in the league, though. Like preseason injuries, training camp. It's like, dude, like, obviously, it's part of the game. It's going to happen. That's what they sign up for. But overall, I'm going to – of course, I'm going to feel bad for him. I'm going to feel bad for Solomon Thomas. I mean, it's not going to skew my opinion towards them or towards writing. I'm still going to call it for what it is. But it's like, man, it's just so unfortunate, especially for a pure talent. He was going to have a great year. And then also to be selfishly maybe a little bit of a jerk mood. It kind of sucks now because now it's like, great. Now the 49ers defense isn't going to be as good to watch either. You know, selfishly, like, hey, I feel bad for the guy. And I also feel bad for the team. But like, hey, now it's for the team's job to overcome, and it's just going to be another thing that Bosa's used to. It's not like it's not like he's never torn an ACL before or done anything. So feel bad for the guy, but they'll overcome it.
I mean, yeah, just from the human standpoint, you feel bad for anyone that gets like what they love to do taken away from them for at least a year. So that's not fun. But from like a journalistic standpoint, you want to be able to see the best product on the field because, I mean, just for a click standpoint, when the Niners are doing well, I'm sure you do. The Niners do a lot better just for readership. Yeah, I think that would help in its own sense. But I just think from the human standpoint, you want everyone to be healthy. You never want someone to get hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You don't want to have somebody get hurt. When I see guys go down like that, it stinks. But my first thought is, okay, who's the next guy up? Yeah. How's the next guy going to play? And what are they doing different? I start thinking of it. Okay, who's going to be the replacement? How's that going to affect the game? I turn to that really quick. I don't, I feel bad for him, but at the end of the day, I'm not. I would say as far as your jaded comment, I don't look at it as a fan where it's really bumming me out.
I think both could be true.
Sure. I have to admit that I don't. There's no emotion that comes through me when a player gets hurt, and maybe that's cruel. But the way I see it is,
jerk.
It's part of the game. They signed up for it.
Exactly.
I don't have time in the press box to take 5 minutes and be like, oh my God, that's just awful. Like, I gotta take a walk and think this through. Nick Bosa's out. I'm not trying to I don't have time. You have to compartmentalize it and come back to it later that night and be like, gee, Solomon Thomas is really tough. But at the same time, they knew the risks they were taking when they played football. It's part of the sport. And if you were really going to have, like, for me, like a momentary lapse where you're depressed about a player, it would happen 4 or 5 times a game and you couldn't do your job. So I feel like I just don't. And maybe I missed that part of being a fan. Like, that's
a fan's point, though. You're definitely pointing out, because it's not like when you told me, like, hey, Jose, right up Bosa getting like carded. Like, I wasn't like, oh, although exactly. I was in my head thinking like, oh my God, dude, I'm just thoughts are running out. Like, hey, what's gonna happen? That's all. That's exactly all. It's like, obviously, I felt bad. What's gonna happen? Who steps up? How are they adjusting?
But not in the moment. In the moment, you have to produce.
No, exactly. I was still going there. I'm still able to separate and come back. Like, wow, that really just happened. Like, whoa, who thought? But it's like, hey, life goes on.
For a writer, it's something you have to write about. For a coach, it's something you have to deal with. I mean, really, the emotions are for the fans and the players and the family. As cruel as that sounds, but that's what makes football.
And that's where next man up comes from too. It's like, hey, next man up. I don't got time to worry about his injury. We'll get to it, but right now I can't worry about his injury. It's like, who's available to me, because I'm not getting paid to worry about some player. I'm getting paid to produce.
Yeah. That's why I played baseball and soccer in high school. I wasn't ready for this for this world.
Hey, soccer has some gruesome injuries too sometimes. If you come,
you get touched and you go down hard.
Yeah, did you see Neymar?
Jack, what were you gonna say?
I mean, I was just gonna say, going back on like some of my experiences, I've had players with hurt their knees, break an ankle, those kind of things, and you go out there and you check on them, you make sure they're okay, you let the doctors do the work, you walk back to the sidelines and you're figuring out who do I got to put in the game now. Yep. What are we going to do? How does this affect my play calling? My job.
The rest of your team to stay composed and have a plan. You can't be on the sideline like, oh God, what about Jimmy? What about Chris? You can't. You can do it later, but you can't.